Hello, world, and welcome to Creating Light with Kelsey. We've got two topics of conversation to discuss today, but yet they intertwine together, as always. Don't you love when that stuff happens? Or once you notice how that happens. And it's about acceptance and anger, accepting what is and allowing yourself to be angry. And I've got 2 points in my life where that is happening. And then I kind of notice that once I allow myself to be angry about one thing, I can also land in acceptance about this other thing that I'm in. And then also, when I'm allowing myself to be angry at the thing that I'm not accepting, I can also accept the thing that I'm angry at on the other situation. Whoa. So, oh, I'm also coming to you already knowing and feeling the anger within me. And I am going to be doing a fury practice. I talked about me creating a fury practice for the Leap of Faith bundle last episode. And I've already created it and I completed it. I did the practice on myself for myself. And as I'm talking right now, I'm literally holding my neck. My neck fucking hurts. You want to know what that tells me? Something's stuck. Something is stuck right here in my neck. It's like on the left side more so. It's like we got the spine and vertebrae situation going on, and it's just more at the base of my neck, right where it meets my traps, and then it's to the right, and it hurts. And I'm how I see the world and how I see these discomforts and physical pains. Something's stuck. So I'm going to do the things to unstick it, but I kind of felt called to speak on it first and then feel it, and which is also tied, I mean, it's in the neck and that's tied to other things as well as me continuing to show up and speak, and then me being mindful of speaking up and speaking my truth and yeah, letting it be known when I am angry in real time and in real life, which is such a practice for women because that is the like men are conditioned to for anger for that to be okay for them to feel and express. Still hasn't always been in the healthiest of ways, but then anger is the main emotion that women have been conditioned to not express and not feel. So still, I'm obviously still learning. I do allow myself to get angry a lot of times though, but it's come in waves. And let's just talk about anger first. Apparently that's on my mind and heart to have that be the first topic versus acceptance. Um, okay. I already I know what it's about. I am trying to there is a point of still being mindful of my words and respectful of privacies and other people's lives and experiencing while still honoring mine. That's kind of the balance as someone that's more in the public eye that we always get to dance with and understand. But frankly, I'm angry that my aunt is dead. And it's the grieving process and those different stages of grief and not knowing when it will hit you. And I guess I've had waves of anger and feeling angry involving family and family dynamics and healing from generational wounds for years now. And I've been angry with my aunt, not with her, the fact that of how she died for a while, because she died from dementia. So it was a slow, painful experience for everyone. Um, and just, but I guess I hadn't been angry about that quite yet, or angry with the way family has reacted, because it's always such a you never know how family will react when big events like this happen. And it's the abandonment wound that feels triggered for sure. And it's because that's been the pattern. So that's been the pattern within my family dynamic is some form of abandonment one way or another. Usually emotional though. And so me growing up in my household, it was very tricky to understand and discern and decipher of like, well, as I got out of that household, why was I so angry or why was I so dissociative? Why do I not remember a lot of things? Why do I feel, fill in the blank? And it was because of that big component of the emotional abandonment and then having people come at you of like, well, you grew up so great. You had all these things, all your needs were provided for. I'm like, okay, yeah, the essential physical basic needs to keep me alive and operating, but didn't realize until way later that the emotional component that my parents just didn't have the capacity to address, maintain, hold space for, and all of that. And so the suppressed rage in that sense of feeling like I shouldn't be angry at my parents and feeling like I shouldn't be angry at how I grew up, that I should be grateful that there was a roof over my head and that I could participate and cheer and that physically I was okay. So it was just a lot of misplaced anger of like, yeah, you can be grateful and appreciative of what you do have and understanding that not everything is generational trauma. Like, what do they generationally bring down strengths as well? But then if I'm ignoring where the humanness of my parents, then yeah, that's going to get suppressed. I've had conversations now and I'm able to share with them. It's been a long time. And so actually, that first wave of anger with family that I allowed myself to feel is when I first moved to Florida, which is also when my aunt got put into a home for her dementia because she was declining so much to where it got to that point. So that was my first wave of anger that I allowed myself to feel, which was around 2019. Yeah, 2018, 2019 is when I was really feeling it, but it was more so directed at my parents. And then family dynamic overall, but not necessarily understanding the depth of you're really losing your aunt now. And here we are. Now she's dead, and I'm angry again and realizing that I didn't during her final moments over the summer and the funeral process, and then what happened months after the funeral, didn't allow myself to be angry. There wasn't Which there's so much emotions that come with grief. There wasn't space. There wasn't space to feel angry because there was still, even if you're expecting a death, there's still a shock and everything shifts and everything flips upside down. And then there's just the literal feeling of grief itself and just this loss and emptiness and sadness that is taking up the room and then figuring out like, well, how do we keep moving on and living with life because we're still alive and she's not. And the cruel design that is life is that it does go on and people do die. And when you're alive, you're still here. And it's just like, what the fuck? But now, now anger is back to be felt and realizing that I've got a lot of anger involving family and that the abandonment, it's not even a wound. I mean, it is a wound that I continuously am feeling through, but it's a pattern that the abandonment wound pattern is not broken in the family dynamic. And through this whole process, and then her actually dying, and it was just presented again through certain people of them carrying out the abandonment wound and me being on the receiving end of that, of being abandoned. So that's what I'm angry about. It's just like, damn, sucks. It sucks. And the the hard truth lesson that I talk about and preach, which I understand at times how annoying it can be to hear, of our exterior world is a manifestation of our interior world. And even though these things are happening and they are out of my control because it's other people making these decisions, it's other people choosing to do these things, and as a result, abandoning certain family members in the process, is like, but yet, that's a that's a behavior pattern. That's a wound that exists in all of us. It's in the fucking bloodline, and it keeps happening. And I'm that's the anger. Like, I'm so pissed. I'm so over it. I want it to be done. I don't want this to be something that's in our family anymore. I don't want it to be in our bloodline anymore, of this like such deep, painful ways of abandonment, because it's not little things. It's extremely hurtful things, and extremely hurtful ways of forms of abandonment that keeps happening in our family. And I'm over it. And that's why anger is here, to show us like the positive intent of anger, no matter how unpleasant that it may feel, is to show us where something is not right, to show us where a violation has taken place, to show us where a boundary is being crossed, to show us where we need to stand, where we need to take a stand and say no more, and create shifts. Because that, like, if I would never have felt anger and I'm feeling this right now, then like I would just be like, okay, everything is fine. Everything is quote unquote good enough to where this we'll just keep this mill running, you know? And anger comes in with a coming in hot, with a fire, with a fury, and being like, no, this literally has to stop. This cannot continue anymore. But that got suppressed within me um over the summer with my aunt dying, and then being in that and then being in shock afterwards, of being abandoned by family again. I'm still in shock, actually. and and I understand to an extent of like, yeah, people do wild things when they're grieving. So that's also the tricky line of when you have understanding and compassion. Like, oh, well, like they're hurting too, and it's grief, and people do wild, crazy things in grief, like they're not themselves. Okay, yes, I can hold grace for that, but I also need to call this shit out of like, regardless, like I love you and I'm continuing to land in forgiveness of this, but also what you're doing is not okay and it needs to stop. Period. Where was I going with that? Right now what's coming up is like, that's the beauty of anger too, and people can also often really bypass anger because they'll go immediately quote unquote above that, of like being above anger, and being like, I do have this compassion, I do have this unconditional love, I do have grace, I do have this greater understanding that it's really not about that, it's about this, and we need to land back in love and just and forgive people and move on. But like, if we go straight to that without feeling our anger, one, we're invalidating ourselves and our own experiences, and two, the anger is there to show us where something does need to shift. Like, yes, the goal in all that is, and the essence of this existence is to, everything is showing us how to land back into love. But then to land back into love without bypassing is to also understand what anger is here to give us, and the lessons and the shifts that it's showing us, so we can truly come back into love and connection. Because if we never address that, then we're just fucking doing the same shit. And we're abandoning people all of the time in hard times and uncomfy situations because we don't know how to sit with uncomfy situations. So we just ignore and avoid and abandon people. And then we're continuously hurting people in the process. So yeah, I'm over that. And I have been for a while, and I practice that in my daily life. But your family will show you every fucking time. And I've talked about this before on the podcast. I actually talked about it the moment that I noticed when I talked about my experience at my aunt's funeral. It was like episode 34 something shit. The line, I think the podcast title was like family never fails to show you where you're not free, and that's this exact moment right now of like anger and the abandonment and the pattern repetition of abandonment is like I'm being shown right now where I'm not free still, and where it's not free within my family dynamic, and where can I make a change. um 'Cause I can't push myself on people, and I can't push conversations and wanting to talk with for people that don't want to talk, and people that have shut me out and abandoned me anyway. Like there's no use there. But there are some family members that I can talk to and just talk to about um my own feelings and shifting where I can shift. Because even though I'm feeling angry and abandoned right now, if I just completely isolate and just take that experience from a few group of people that treated me a certain way and then just say fuck you to my entire family, then I'm also the problem. I'm also perpetuating that wound by not having relationships with any family members because of the result of a few. Lovely real life lessons. And let's see what else what I was gonna say about anger. Also, yeah, okay, my little note here. With how angry I've been, didn't realize that I'd been, but I had suppressed it. And then it turned into stagnation in a way because okay, now we're gonna be leading into the other topic of acceptance. See, don't you love how this happens? The universe is teaching us all the time if we just open our eyes and allow ourselves to see it. But with how angry I've been and then suppressed it, it showed me, it's been shown of how stagnant I've been because now it's been suppressed and then moved into stagnation. And now it's showing stagnation within the environment that I'm currently living in because pretty sure I've talked about it on the podcast, but been openly talking about it on Instagram and with friends and just all over the fucking place since we're in March right now, the end of the end of March, and then the end around October or whatever. I was like, I want to move. Well, this suppression of anger turning into stagnation, outer reflection, my environment that I'm currently living in, it's not changed. And I've wanted it to change, but it has not changed. So that's the outer reflection of that stagnation of like, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to be in this environment anymore. I would like to live somewhere else. Um, it's not horrible, but it's not, I personally feel I would like to move on. But I apparently haven't been pissed enough at what's been just in general to take certain action or to ensure that it does fully happen. Um, yeah, so wherever stagnation is happening and stuff isn't changing where you want it to change, usually you're not angry enough at the situation to make a difference, to make a change, to instill that, to ensure and follow through on that. And again, that's why anger is so important. It shows us we're just like, okay, fuck this shit. Which is the point of my fury practice in the leap of faith bundle, how we all hit a point where we are like, fuck this shit in our life, different times in lives where we're over it. And we're like, okay, fuck this shit. I'm no longer available for this, and I choose something different. today. And I'm gonna do whatever it takes to make it happen and to follow through and to see it through to the end and like have it fully be integrated. And that's where I'm at right now. Because this current lesson is not fully integrated, or I wouldn't be here anymore. And then what's so funny, universe got jokes, is with this moment in life where I'm at in this house that I'm living in, I've had so I've been so reluctant to this place and to releasing control and accepting and being grateful. Oh, don't we love when that happens, when we forget to be grateful for where we're at? But I've been struggling with that. Probably because there hasn't been room because there's been suppressed rage. So how can you be grateful when you're so pissed at other things? Like there's no space. That's why you got to feel, let the anger come up and through. And then guess what? Oh, space for gratitude is here. That's how that goes. But what's wild is I've been so reluctant to this place and accepting where I'm at and just releasing control and letting things unfold how it's meant to unfold and being excited and okay with the mystery of it all and allowing, like, knowing, because we all fucking know that everything is temporary. So why am I getting so caught up in the fact that like I haven't moved yet when I know that everything is temporary and that it's only a matter of time before I move? So just when I have that knowing, why am I caught up about when and how it happens? I don't know. I can't answer that question right now because I lost the plot. I lost the plot. I lost my sight. I lost my vision. The ego kind of came back into control and taking the driver's seat, and then suppression was coming back into play, which all makes sense because just going through a whole internal reality upside down when you have a significant family member die. Like, I'm learning to land back in grace like that. I was like, how did I lose the plot? Like, what happened? Your aunt died. That's what happened. Among with other things that I'm not, other spiritual lessons that I'm not in a place to share publicly, but in the personal, physical realm sense, your aunt died. Of course, you lost the plot. Of course. The most outside of your parents, the most significant adult in your life growing up, she died. So, duh. Oh, grief. Gotta Gotta appreciate all the things and the fuckery that comes with it. But to put in perspective of like why have I been so resistant? Because I'm back in the lesson, and that's where I'm like, oh, we have not like fully integrated the lesson of fully accepting where we're at and allowing the new timeline to come to us instead of like this desperation and forcing and like manifesting and pulling in this timeline. Like everything that you want is already here. Just relax, receive, let go, be open, and allow it to fall in. And and then you're following divine guidance along the way. And but yeah, letting control of it all happening. So anyway, back to my point. Back in 2021. So at the end of 2020, I had finished my study which has now evolved into my 8-month healing container. But that was the first iteration of it, is I created this research study to take on myself and to understand like how can we actually heal from trauma. And that's what this big mission has been of like, oh, now we're figuring out like true soul liberation and integrating it into the 3D and this human experience instead of just bypassing, instead of distraction, instead of band-aid remedies. That's what this healing container has evolved into, of tangible, integrative healing from the soul, from the depths to the inside out. And so I finished that the first go around in 2020. And then I had realized by finishing that and all the healing that had been accomplished within that time frame, I was like, oh my God, I'm in an abusive marriage and I need to leave my husband. I am no longer, that was the declaration of I'm no longer available for suffering. And then, but I knew it wasn't going to be just like I snap my fingers and I have my new reality and my new life, and I'm no longer entangled, enmeshed in the 3D sense with my now ex-husband. And that was the journey of the first half of 2021. Because, like I said, I made that decision on the winter solstice actually of 2020. And then, so the first half of 2021, I was like, okay, we are here. We are here in this tough lesson. We're here in an environment, in a house that we no longer want to live in, but we know it's not forever. We know we're going to be out of here. We just don't know when. We don't know how. So let's be here, be in the now, accept what is, learn the lessons that are here to be learned so we don't repeat this shit. Well, obviously, I've repeated some shit because, like I just said, I'm kind of back in the similar energetics, but it is what it is. Welcome to being human. But it blows my mind. And that's again, I was like, we lost the plot, but now we're coming back to it. Is in 2021, when I was in the house with a not safe person, I was in more acceptance than I am now when I'm in a house and I'm with safe people. Isn't that fucking wild? What? What? How does that make sense? But I just remember it. And so I was actually journaling on it before I popped on to record today. That's why I was like, this is what we're going to talk about. Is it's like, okay, well, how did we, how did we allow the timeline to come to us instead of stressing the fuck out about being in the unknown and trying to control the whole situation of like, and this clinging and attachment, and which attachment is connected to greed, which is one of the spiritual poisons, my friends, which causes suffering. So I was like, what did I do? Like, what helped me, you know? And it's like, you danced. No, I feel emotional. We danced because that's all there was to do. We danced and meditated and we created art. That was the only thing to do, to accept what is, to be in the now, and allow the timeline to come to us. And trusting that it already exists, and trusting that everything does come to an end, and endings are always here and beginnings are always here. So I knew, I was like, this version of Kelsey that is no longer in an abusive marriage already exists. And so I just have to allow it and allow this lesson to complete, and just be here and feel it all. What am I meant to feel? What am I meant to know? What am I meant to learn? And I kept landing in that, and I would just put on music and dance. This is before somatic activated healing, and before I knew anything about it, before I really even knew who the hell Sadie Simone was. This is what I did. And I would just bask in the glory, in the gratitude, in the excitement of the adventure, of the unknown. I was dancing and choosing to dance and feel into the unknown by putting on a song and letting my body move however it wanted to move, while in the intention of knowing, like, of being in this allowance of like of what is, but also I'm welcoming the new. And that's how I kept landing back into acceptance. And that's how the new timeline was on this quote unquote faster track. It wasn't fast because it's here. That's the thing. That's like this, everything is fucked, you know? Everything is fucked and everything is beautiful. It's like all these timelines exist and we're all always here and everything is happening all at the same time, and time is an illusion. And then so it's like it's already here. So it's just, when are you just when have you decided that you're done? So you can get to the next thing. When can you allow this cycle to complete? When can you close the loop? Because that's on you. You have to make it happen. And then it will be here. But if you're clinging to control, not allowing yourself to feel, and wanting, yeah, everything to be your way, and suppressing, you're gonna become stagnant. you're gonna become stuck in repeating and being where you continuously no longer want to be, which is where the fuck I'm at now, of still being in this house when I wanted to move around. I was making the move. I was had the idea. I was like, okay, I want to move around October. And I was like, it's gonna happen in November. Psych. Psych. But that's the shit I haven't been doing. I haven't been what I did in 2021 to no long to no longer be available for where I was in that timeline. Um, yeah, I've been doing that now. So it's like, yeah, just remembering that acceptance and then accepting what is. But apparently, I obviously don't haven't had the room for acceptance to fully integrate in this current phase of life because I've suppressed anger. So I get to feel anger. So then acceptance and gratitude can enter, and then things can change and things can shift, and this new version of Kelsey can be existing in this condo on the bay that she's been seeing for years. It's available and it's here, but it's not going to be here until I'm accepting and grateful for what is in this now moment. And I just did a somatic practice last night from the house of the wealth embodiment membership that I'm in with Victoria Washington. And she's like, when we were doing the somatic practice, she was like, and remember, like, this thing that you're calling in and this integration that you're calling in, because the topic was like turning overwhelm into overflow. And she's like, if you're not in overflow, then you haven't quite yet integrated overwhelm in this current stage that you're in. And she's like, remember that this next layer of overflow that you're integrating now, when you're there, you're going to be grateful for this version of you now that's here and that's doing the work and that didn't give up. Because again, every version stacks on top of the other, and it is who you are today. So and then this is, so that obviously had me crying. And then this is me now, Kelsey. So speaking on top of that, of like, of being grateful for, oh fuck, I lost the thing that I was gonna say. Yeah, grateful for every version. Every version is like who you are today is what got you here, and being grateful for them. And so this moment always rolls into the next. And if you keep rolling into the next moment out of frustration for where you are and not appreciating for where you are, then you're always going to be living in moments of scarcity and not enoughness and chasing and not being fully present. So then you're always going to be in that loop. I don't want to be in that loop. I'd like to close that. So let's all land back into that. Let's feel anger where we need to feel anger. Let's land back into gratitude and acceptance for what is and be grateful. Because I am. Isn't that so weird? I can already kind of feel and sense that version of me that's living in the condo on the bay being so appreciative of the me now. So then getting curious of like, well, why am I not appreciative of myself now? which I'm obviously I've talked about the last like whatever how long I've been talking about is like, I'm angry at the at my aunts being dead and my family constantly abandoning each other, and then also not pointing, if I'm pointing the finger, then I got three fingers pointed back at myself. Like I'm also included in that. Um, just and then knowing where that has manifested as self-abandonment, because that's what I constantly learn and get exposed to, and I'm over it. I don't want to play that game anymore. So yeah, welcome to the game of life. I'm not quite sure how to close this episode, but I feel like I've landed the points that needed to be landed. Feel your feelings so we can get free. Accept what is so we can get free. And every moment is beautiful. Not negating that some stuff is unpleasant and heavy and sucks, but it's all beautiful. It's all intertwined into this beautiful tapestry. And yeah, so after this recording, I'm going to take time and do my Fury practice again. And then I'll probably be ready to record it and put it into the Leap of Faith bundle. But you can grab it now. Because once I add that, the price of the Leap of Faith bundle is going to be going up. So right now it's just $55, and you have 4 somatic activated healing practices in there and 3 talks, all around the energetics of helping you take a leap of faith, surrendering to the unknown, gaining the courage to take action, grounding yourself when you're in the unknown, or if you're one of those people where the rug got pulled out from under your ass and the universe forced you to take a leap of faith because you weren't listening. This will also help you with that. And there's so many content with like uh journaling and curiosity and all of that. And once you're in the bundle, you get all the upgrades for free. So that's what I'm saying. Like if you grab it now before I add the Fury practice in there, because once I add that and add more things, it's going up again. So yeah, grab it now for $55. And then once I'm out of this house, once I have moved, listen, I'm adding more stuff because the shit that I've been talking about that I can talk about more is fully integrated. So like you keep getting the videos and the lessons that I've talked about in the Leap of Faith bundle so far are different points of integration. And this one is like that I'm in is like the most massive point of integration and encapsulating all of it. It's like those ones, what's in there so far is stepping stones to the big shebang for me and my personal life. And once this move happens, that's like that's my personal cycle completion. So that's what's kind of cool of like this Leap of Faith bundle has been building along that. And you get to witness that and you get to be in it as well. And then so then you're also being exposed to different points of evolution and integration within leaps of faith and changing your reality and making sure certain things stick and then you're not in a loop. Yeah. Uh there's that. I'll put that in the show notes. If you want. The sales page is pretty vague, which is why I took time to talk about it now, and that's part of the updating. I got to update that too. 'Cause that's the whole learning point of the new business format of like offering passive self-study courses is like how do you create the thing? How do you make the thing? How do you create the web page or the sales page to like where it portrays the information it needs to portray? Like still learning all of that, but what you need now is already done. And not sorry that it's not a fancy like sales page yet, but we'll get there. Anything else? Anything else? Open for one-on-one. I'll put that in there if you would like to apply. It's a 6-month journey. Free classes once a week. Come to the lives. We've been those things. I love it. I just love it still. It's like so cool of who shows up and then we chat afterwards, and the people that were on last week we were just chatting and then talking about our dreams, and I was telling them about this whole like my loss of vision and coming back into clarity because the theme was clarity for the somatic activated healing class. And it was just evident that it is here because then we were dissecting dreams and artwork and yeah, it's here. But that's what the free classes get to be. Like I'm here like I want to be here and serve and connect and build community in that way. And so if you come to the live, then we'll stay after and like chat about stuff and like it gets to be fulfilling and that's what I like about it. But yeah, those things, put it all in the show notes. Again, thank you. Thank you for listening and being on my journey of the podcasting, continuously evolving and figuring it out in that way. And then now we're just showing up and talking and letting it be and not editing and trusting. That's another layer of trust. Would you look at that shit? Well, thank you. And remember, when we see the light in ourselves, we create light in others.